Dumelang, welcome to Face the Nation. My name is Clement Manyatela. Great to have you with us here on SABC News. On the show tonight, how is the KZN MEC going to address concerns raised by some parents around school admissions at Addington Primary School in KwaZulu-Natal? Concerns have been raised that the school has more undocumented learners than South African citizens. The MEC of Education in that province, Sipho Hlomuka, joins us. Also on the show, why is ActionSA insisting on refusing to ask its Ekurhuleni Mayoral candidate, Xolani Khumalo, to step aside after he was arrested and charged for assault? The party believes the charges are politically motivated and therefore Khumalo won't step aside. This is even though ActionSA has previously stated that the party would not support any member found wanting by law enforcement. The ActionSA leader, Herman Mashaba, speaks to us. And then later, how will the French president respond to threats by the US President Donald Trump to impose 200% tariffs on French wines if President Emmanuel Macron doesn't join the Board of Peace, which is expected to deal with the reconstruction of Gaza? The US president has also posted a private message from the French president in which he says he doesn't understand what President Trump is doing on Greenland. The French ambassador to South Africa joins us. But first, my comment. So the former IPID head, Robert McBride, has concluded his testimony for today at the ad hoc committee in Parliament investigating allegations of corruption and interference in the criminal justice system. McBride has been accused of improper conduct and for colluding with the likes of private investigator Paul O'Sullivan to target certain senior police officials. It's been alleged that he and O'Sullivan waged a secret war against the former Acting Commissioner Patlani in an attempt to discredit him. Well, today he gave his side of the story before the committee in Parliament. He was asked about his relationship with Paul O'Sullivan.
On two occasions, I basically brought him to order about pushing ahead with investigations. And each occasion, which was different, he didn't speak to me for a few months. So he went on a sulk because on the second occasion, I was forced to tell him in front of other people quite hard. Even the same Nkabinde came to me and said, "No, Chief, you're too hard." And so he sulks a bit when he doesn't get his way.
He has claimed that Cedric Nkabinde, who is the Chief of Staff for the police minister who's on special leave, Senzo Mchunu, actually remained in contact with witnesses even after his removal as an IPID investigator.
So your evidence is that Mr. Nkabinde was speaking to suspects at the time regarding cases that had ongoing investigations. Yeah. Was he doing that in his capacity as an investigator? Where was Cedric Nkabinde at the time in July, on the 19th of July, 2018?
From memory, he was off the investigation team. I can't remember the date of his disciplinary or what date he resigned on. I can check it, it's here. Yeah, but I'm not sure. He was not on the task team, according to statements from the analyst and from Sissoko. He was not on the task team. Okay. So why is he talking to suspects? And he talks to Patlani also before he makes a statement in Patlani's favor. And there evidence, but I'm not involved in the case, so I only know a little bit from what I hear. He's the lawyer of Patlani also, BDK lawyer. Yeah. I want to sit in here, yeah.
He also told the committee that the former public protector, Busisiwe Mkhwebane, tried to hold a disciplinary hearing against Cedric Nkabinde and that Nkabinde only grew disgruntled after he did not get a promotion at IPID.
The former public protector, Mr. Kwabane, tried to stop Nkabinde's disciplinary proceedings against Nkabinde. When that attempt failed, she subsequently conducted an unlawful investigation in favor of Nkabinde, recommending that my team and I be charged. These findings were set aside by the High Court. Attached hereto is a copy of Public Protector's report and a judgment setting it aside, marked as annexures 24A and 24B. The fact is, Nkabinde is a man of questionable character, driven by greed. He only became disgruntled because he could not get a promotion in IPAD, and Patlani and his crew took advantage of that by offering him a brigadier position in exchange for a false implication in wrongdoing against me, and offer Nkabinde, and that goes to explain, ma'am, the question, how did the star turn around? And offering Nkabinde gladly accepted due to greed. He went on to join the suspects in our investigation and to shield them from accountability.
McBride has also denied that he suspended Nkabinde while at IPID.
And I labeled him lie number 1. And the first lie is that I suspended him. Now, it's not true. Nkabinde was suspended by his supervisor in KZN, Director van der Sant, who was standing in for a provincial head. So nothing to do with me suspension. I attached the documents in my possession, RJM 21, which shows who suspended him.
He says he also warned the police minister, Senzo Mkhunu, that Cedric Nkabinde could not be trusted before his appointment as chief of staff in the police ministry. So the question we're asking you tonight is, what do you make of the counter allegations Robert McBride has made during his testimony today? And are you satisfied with how he has explained the relationship he enjoyed with Paul O'Sullivan? You can share your thoughts with us by sending us an X on @FaceTheNation SABC. You can also call us on 011-714-0677. Remember to tell us your name and your surname and where you are calling us from. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Teaching and learning at Addington Primary School in Durban is back on track after violent clashes between local and foreign national parents erupted last week. And there is a march-on-march movement that has claimed that South African pupils were being overlooked for foreign nationals in school admissions. The KwaZulu-Natal Department of Education has denied favoritism. Jacinta Ngobese-Zuma is from the March movement and joins us now to share the concerns that have been raised by the parents. Jacinta, thank you so much for making time for us. What exactly are you concerned about as a movement? What have the parents complained to you about?
Hi, Colin. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We've had a number of parents complaining about the fact that they're unable to get access to schools, not just in Addington, but in South Africa as a whole. But as a movement, because we are based in KZN, we are able to make more strides here. So we found out that Addington Hospital was the one that gave us the most complaints from parents who, at a particular time, there was around 100 parents or so who were looking for a space when we started. And the numbers right now, the last time we checked, were at 61 parents who do not have access to the school and who are living within that area. From what we got from the school, they have 600 foreign nationals who are in the school. But one of the SGB members, who's formerly an SGB member, highlighted that the school was at 964 foreign nationals. So we're not sure what the correct number is. And we are still sitting with those 60 plus parents who are looking for a place in the school. And 40 plus of those parents are people who were displaced during the floods and had to move into that neighborhood, not by choice, but because of the circumstances that forced them to go there.
Okay, so what concerns then are you raising? Are you suggesting that the school has somehow prioritized these And just to check, are you talking about undocumented foreign nationals, that 600 number that you've got, or these are just foreign nationals who are legally in South Africa, or children of foreign nationals who are legally in South Africa? And the second question is, are you suggesting that the school has prioritized those foreign nationals over locals?
I'm not suggesting it, I'm emphatically saying it. Because the Point area, if you are from Durban, you will understand that that whole area has been taken over by people who are not South African. And they have created an absolute fear for locals to even go to that place. Now, this has been an ongoing thing where parents in the Addington Primary School are limited to people who are foreign nationals. When we went to the principal to find out, he didn't give us any particular answers as to how he decides when given a list of applications that he's going to put in a child who's undocumented and is an illegal foreigner, because we know that there's I don't even know what to call it, but I'll call it a plot by government to try and distinguish between undocumented children, to refuse actually to distinguish between undocumented South African children and undocumented illegal foreigners, because they refuse to refer to them in that word. But there are a lot of undocumented illegal children who are at the school. And we don't know how this happens. Majority of them claim to be refugees. And if you ask them about their refugee status, they tell you that they're still applying for documents.
And of course, I mean, the school may have explained to you what the legal position is, because you can't necessarily refuse children access to education regardless of their status here in South Africa.
You see, that's the problem that we have, Colin, that we seemingly have a lot of, I say, departments. I'll use the education department as one of them, who wants to use the Constitution to their favor in the wrong way. Because our Constitution is emphatic in saying that everyone has a right to an education, right? And even though it does say so, but the limitation in that Constitution is that subject to available resources. So there is provision made in the Constitution that allows for the government to say that we can no longer provide free education to people who are foreign nationals in this country, whether legal, whether undocumented, whatever phrase they choose to use. So we are saying that you cannot compromise your own children, and there's no constitution in the world that would ever say put children of foreign nationals at any cost, at any expense, even if we're seeing that it's to the detriment of South Africans. And if they insist as a government that they want to put foreign nationals in our schools, then they must fork out the bill for them to go to private schools, because those are also an option. It can't be that South African parents are the ones that are being subject to going from pillar to post looking for schools for their children when foreign nationals are in schools, and we blame the Constitution, because the Constitution made provision for children and adults and grannies who are illegal foreigners to be deported. And then the government decided that the Constitution is talking about them getting education, which is not true.
What do you expect the the education MEC to do in this regard? And when you mentioned the 600 number, this is 600 foreign nationals out of how many learners at that school?
1,200 learners at the school, and as I said, we're not receiving those numbers as truthful.
And these are the numbers you got from the school itself?
Yes, but an SGB member mentioned that it was a number at 960 something. And if you go to the school, you'll see for yourself that there's no way that's 600 children. It's way, way more than that.
Okay.
So you asked us as well what the suggestion is in terms of what we would like to happen. Our government right now, as I said, we've got 60-something children who don't have a space in schools, and they had suggested that they're going to take the children to schools in the area, of which until now they still haven't, which is almost a week since school has started. And we have said if they're going to do that, they need to make provision for transport for those children, because the parents that have been displaced from the floods don't even earn a living, some of them, because remember, they were taken from wherever they were living and put in those buildings to live there. Second to that, if they're not going to be providing any solution for these children, they need to pray for their education in a private education institution, and the government needs to fork that bill, because at the end of the day, every South African child needs to get an education, and we're not going to allow for our children to be compromised just so children who are not our responsibility can take preference.
All right, Jacinta and Ngobese-Zuma, thank you so much for making time for us. I really appreciate it. Let's hear now from the Education Department in KwaZulu-Natal. Mlu Mtshali is the KZN Education Spokesperson who joins us on behalf of the MEC, whom we're told is still stuck in a meeting. Mlu, thank you so much for making time for us. You've heard what Jacinta has said. Can I first maybe start by clarifying the number of foreign nationals who have been enrolled at this particular school? Do you have the same number of 600 as the Education Department?
Thanks, Clement. I'll just touch on this specific issue of Addington College, but I think we should have a broader conversation about registration of learners in the province. But to answer your question, we have about 580 learners who are children of foreign nationals, and we have 1,600 learner population in total. But I want to say that this is a reflection of the population in that community. So it's not children who are coming out of other areas of KwaZulu-Natal or anywhere else, but these are even the foreign children, children of foreign nationals, are children who live in the area, and the student population in that school is a reflection of the population in general.
Okay. I mean, the movement seems to suggest that, and in fact, that's why they marched. They seem to suggest that the school is prioritizing children of foreign nationals at the expense of the locals. From the conversation you've had with the school principal, but also the parents in that community, what are they telling you? Is that the sense you're getting?
Absolutely not. There's no basis for that accusation to the principal. And I think it's really unfair to the school and to the principal himself. Like I said, Addington is a fee-paying school, and all of the learners, most of them that are at that school, had applied for registration since last year. And even those that are on the waiting list, it's a balanced list that has children, South African children, and it has learners from foreign countries. But we only have 5 at the moment. At the moment, we have 5 learners who are foreign learners who are undocumented. But we also have South African learners who are undocumented. And that number, I think at the moment, it stands at about 20. And for reasons that are varying, because as you know, some of the learners that we placed in that school were displaced due to floods from 2021 and the flood incidents in 2023 as well. So there is much undocumented South African learners as we have undocumented learners from foreign countries.
Yeah. How concerned are you about these undocumented learners and also just illegal immigration and how it ends up bleeding into the school system? Because these tensions do exist, and KwaZulu-Natal is not the only province, of course, where we've seen tensions that arise and concerns being raised by some parents. Is it of great concern, and what's the solution to it? Because as much as the Constitution allows for all children to be enrolled, regardless of their status here in the country, because they have a right to education, you also don't want to be dealing as a government with instances where locals and your own citizens are complaining that they're being pushed out of the system, and some priority seems to be given to foreign nationals. So as much as they can have a right to education, their argument is that it mustn't be at the expense of the locals.
I think what concerns us more than anything, Clement, is that this seems to be a broader battle, but they have chosen the schools as a soft target to play out this battle. And that is what we are saying cannot be correct and it cannot be encouraged. Because I'm saying this because as things stand, there is no crisis in that school, Addington College, because even the learners that were not placed last week, we have managed to place them, some of them within the school, and those that could not be placed in the school have been placed in other schools, because that's not the only school that we have in the area. We have placed all learners that were on the waiting list. I can guarantee that all learners are in classrooms as we speak.
Have you engaged the South African Police Service to ensure some visibility in and around the school so that there's some public order policing around the premises to avoid, schooling being compromised?
It's unfortunate that we even have to do that. We are saying to the movements and the political parties that are marching to schools that let them locate the grievance at the right platforms and at the right institutions. What they are calling for is a change in legislation and a change in the constitution. And the school is not the place to call for that, because as schools, we must implement what is in the constitution and what is in the legislation and in the policy. For them to change any of that, Parliament is the right place to do that. And we're urging everyone, political parties, movements like March for March, to really ensure that a school is a place of learning as it is intended, and they should really try and not traumatize learners who are just going to school for purposes of learning.
All right. Mlu Mtshali, KZN Education Spokesperson, thank you so much for joining us. After the break, we speak to the leader of ActionSA, Herman Mashaba. Stay with us. Welcome back. The question we've been asking you tonight on Face the Nation is what you make of the counter allegations Robert McBride has made during his testimony today. And also, are you satisfied with how he's explained the relationship he enjoyed with Paul O'Sullivan? You can call us live right now on 011-714-0677. That's 011-714-0677, and tell us what your thoughts are on the testimony of the former head of IPID, Robert McBride. We move to this now. ActionSA has defended its Ekurhuleni Mayoral candidate, Xolani Khumalo, amid assault and firearm charges. Khumalo handed himself over at the Katlehong police station after an alleged drug dealer laid a charge of assault against him. The party says it's still confident that Khumalo is the man to lead the party in the city. Earlier this year, charges of murder, robbery and malicious damage to property against Khumalo and his TV show crew were provisionally withdrawn. They had been charged with murdering an alleged drug dealer in July back in 2023. Herman Mashaba is the leader of ActionSA and joins us now in studio. Mr. Mashaba, thank you so much for making time for us.
Oh, thank you very much, Clement, and good evening to the viewers out there.
You have decided as ActionSA that you won't be asking Xolani Khumalo to step aside after he was arrested and charged for assault. Why?
In fact, we would really want and urge him to intensify this fight against drug cartels. We cannot, as South Africans, sit back and be silenced by our criminal justice system working with drug cartels. South Africa's youth deserve a better country. So a young person like Xolani needs to really be given resources, the support. And I think for us as ActionSA, we are unapologetic about this, that bring us something else. But this particular matter of, you've just said it yourself, the assault of a drug dealer, which is also a fabricated matter. Drug dealer when the millions of our youth are being destroyed by drug syndicates working with our criminal justice system. So Xolani is going to be really urged and be supported, and I will support him myself. I'm actually ready. It's already in my diary. The 18th of February, I'm going to really be the lead person at the Magistrate Court, and I'm really appealing to the investigating officer. Please don't ask for a postponement. We hope you are ready with your case, because you allege this happened in December. You decided to bring this matter into the public domain as if Xolani was running away from being arrested. Xolani handed himself over. So we hope on the 18th that they are ready to proceed with the case, so that Xolani would really be given an opportunity to demonstrate to South Africans the extent of the drug cartels are doing to this country.
Did he explain to you what really transpired?
Yes, absolutely. For that reason,
so he didn't assault this man who's laid a charge against him?
He did not. In the first place, Xolani and his team were invited by South African police services to join them in this raid. It was not part of his normal show. Because of their knowledge of how these criminals operate, they went to this guy's house and had illegal ammunition, arrested by the police, taken because the police working with Xolani were not from the Katlehong area. They were outside the drug units, committed policemen and women. And this is unfortunate, because when people start attacking the police, then you put a blanket on everyone. The only problem I have with the team that invited Xolani, but we'll get them the legal team is going to get them into court to really come and testify, because if Xolani assaulted anyone, they're the ones who must obviously should have arrested Xolani. Xolani did not take this criminal to Katlehong police station. They're the ones who took Xolani to the police station. And what is fun is that no case actually was laid against this guy by Katlehong police station. The guys who were working with Xolani, the subs, took him there to really be charged and locked up. He was never locked up, and right now there's no way that they're going to be able to recreate the charge, which fortunate enough Xolani with his videos, because he works with his cameras, he's got evidence of actually what transpired during this particular
So the guys who invited him to join this raid and go to this person who is a drug dealer, they are able to vouch for him to say...
If they're not prepared to, our lawyers are going to get them to come and testify.
Would you be okay with the ANC behaving in the same way? If one of the ANC leaders was to be criminally charged and they came out and said, these are politically motivated, so let's stay put, you don't have to step down. Would you be okay with that as ActionSA?
Well, no, it depends what evidence they have. I've just given you why we are supporting. We are not supporting Xolani in darkness. I'm giving you information that will be tested in a court of law. And there's a reason why I'm really asking our judiciary to make sure that they get the investigating officer on the 18th to please not postpone the matter. Let's start going into the meat of why Xolani was arrested. Okay,
what have you seen in the video, the evidence that you're talking about?
I think let's leave it to the court. That's what I'm saying is, I really hope and I appeal to the judiciary to ensure that this case on the 18th of February must proceed, and they must not really tell South Africans that they're not yet ready.
Okay, so to ensure consistency then, I mean, if another party does say, we've got evidence that this person is just criminally charged for political reasons, there's no evidence against them.
But they must also then push for expedite the criminal for the court proceedings to proceed, not to really delay like what we witnessed with some of our politicians. 20 years later, they'll always say they want their day in court. 20 years later, they're still, when they're asked to come to court, they don't come to court.
Yeah, what do you think is at play here? Do you think that there are some people who are playing politics behind the scenes to somehow sabotage
it's
his
not really
candidature?
political, it's criminal. It's a international drug syndicates. You heard in the ad hoc committee last week what General Khumalo said, that 80% of the police in Gauteng are captured by cartels. Nothing to do with Xolani. At the time, we were not even aware. Xolani was not even aware that the investigating officer from Katlehong is looking after him. So we've got no working relationship with what transpired in the ad hoc committee. So that's why we're really quite confident of this. And we want this matter because I think this is one of the biggest opportunities in this court. We are going to use this court to really expose the level of the involvement of some in the entire criminal justice system of cases of involvement in drug dealings. Remember, I don't know if you are aware, in November, and fortunate enough on that Sunday, I happened to have been with Xolani. There was a by-election in Etoto in Davidton. On a Sunday. While we were there, community members came rushing to us, called Xolani to come and assist them because there was someone selling drug-laced cookies to young kids. Xolani quickly rushed there, and in the meantime, God works in his own ways. In the process, there was a police van passing, not from Etoto. The guy who was arrested with that evidence, also we've got video material of that. Are you aware, even up to today, the police took him, that van, because it was not from Davidton, the police probably lives in the area, took the guy to the police station. A few days later, personally, I went to the police station to go and find out how far this case is. The guys tell us no one was ever brought to the police station. Really quite weird. I went to the clinic to go and find out about the state of the kids. They tell us, the clinic themselves tell me that the kids were never brought there. But eventually, because they don't know me, eventually a few days later, I got the clinic to actually confirm these kids being admitted, put on drips. When our team took these kids to the clinic, they had to be put on wheelchairs. But initially, they were denying the presence of these kids. So you can imagine it's not just even the police, even our hospitals. So it looks like our society is captured. Let me tell you the last one quickly. There's a guy called Tony in Germiston Police Station. I've been fighting on this matter. It cost me a fortune with lawyers. A Nigerian drug dealer, a murderer, and I can call him a murderer, a hijacker. He's hijacking properties of South Africans, working with the police station in Germiston. This man, I don't know how many times I got him arrested. The following day gets released, and all the complainants got charged, including a 15-year-old child being charged by the police. Because this guy, the mother is the one reported this, broke his cell phone up to today. And this man, he gets released on bail with nothing to pay. And this man this Nigerian criminal has been in our country for the last 10 years. His name is called Tony.
Speaking of the crimes that happened in around Johannesburg, because these are some of the issues that you've said you try to address when you were Johannesburg mayor. When are you announcing your candidacy for Johannesburg mayor?
I'm happy to announce it in public that ActionSA will be announcing in mayoral candidate on the 21st of February. So obviously this will bring news to you in Soweto. My team is...
So you've finally accepted to take it?
No, I have not finally accepted. I said to South Africans and I said to my party, I said, please give me, let's as a party, look at our own internal processes. I'm looking for another Nasipi Moya. That Nasipi Moya who just 18 months ago, no one knew who Nasiphi Moyo is.
But why are you not taking up the job? There are a lot of South Africans
no,
who have
I'll
said
make
to
myself available. No, look, what Johannesburg is important for South Africa. In the event that I don't find another Nasiphi or we don't find another Xolani,
You
definitely I'll make myself available.
So you still haven't found a mayor?
I'll pay we are talking. Look, I think allow our internal processes to unfold. But 21st of February, the big announcement, and I will send you a personal invitation.
Why are you setting the date to announce a mayoral candidate for ActionSA when you haven't
because
cleared the deal yet?
we're close to finalize the matter. So
Okay.
Yeah, no, we're very close.
So you think you found a strong candidate you can go head to head?
We're close to find. That's why I can announce on your show. No, in fact, I'm sure some of my colleagues are going to be upset with me as to why I'm jumping. But I think it's important to take our nation into confidence. This is a national matter. The city of Johannesburg, it's very important. I've got unfinished business there.
Are you speaking to people inside or also outside of ActionSA?
Clement, I'm going to send you a personal invitation. 21st of, let's make sure that you don't go and play golf on the 21st of, or don't be out of town so that you can really be there. We announce, and I can tell you the person we are going to announce ultimately is going to take over the city of Johannesburg. So that the unfinished business that had started and dark forces worked towards removing me because my sin was to focus my energies on poor communities, as if I did not Senten where I lived. But people of Alexander, people of Soweto needed services. They deserve it as well.
I mean, Mashaba, looking forward to that announcement. Thank you so much for making time for us. After the break, we're going to have a conversation with the French ambassador to South Africa about some latest developments coming out of the US. Stay with us. Welcome back. European countries have warned that the US tariff threats over control of Greenland threatened transatlantic relations and risked a dangerous downward spiral. Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, French President Emmanuel Macron warned against quote-unquote useless aggressivity and hit out at bullies. US President Donald Trump announced new tariffs for countries that oppose his Greenland plan. Trump has threatened to hit French wines and champagnes with 200% tariffs. David Martino is the French ambassador to South Africa, Lesotho, and Malawi, and joins us now via Zoom. Ambassador, thank you so much for making time for us. Good evening.
Good evening. Always a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Let's first start with what the US president has done, posting a private message from the French president in which one of the things the French president said is that, and I quote, "I don't understand what you are doing on Greenland." Did that catch a lot of you as French representatives by surprise?
Well, it's not usual, but the thing is that the office of the president has authenticated the message. So I won't go into, explaining, taking position about is it a usual manner to do things, or is it the best way to do diplomacy. But what I can say is that at least it shows that there is no conspiracy. Things are blunt between heads of state, and particularly between the French president and the American president. They speak directly in a very simple way.
Mm-hmm.
So let's be positive.
Yeah, the US president seems to be singling out the French president. I mean, some have suggested that he's being singled out because he was standing up for democratic principles and leading the resistance on President Trump's intentions on Greenland. Has the European Union decided on what the next move will be since President Trump vowed to impose these tariffs on the countries, including France, until the US is allowed to acquire Greenland?
So there are several steps that have been taken already. First of all, to answer your questions directly, the heads of states and governments of the European Union have agreed to, I understand, to convene on Thursday to discuss that matter. However, regarding Greenland, hence Denmark, hence the European Union, you already know that several countries have decided to send troops to Greenland to participate in that military operation, military exercise called Arctic Endurance. And among them, you have indeed France, you have also Germany, you have Sweden, you have Finland, and you have the Netherlands, and you have the UK. So not all of them, by the way, are do belong to the European Union, because you have the UK and you have Norway. So it's not only France, it's Europe in general.
Okay. Does the French president, though, believe that the European Union must activate its perhaps potent trade tools against the US? Does he believe, in sending French troops to Greenland in support of Denmark? I know that some troops were sent there for military exercises, as you've said last week. But what is the French position in as far as reciprocating towards the US after the announcement of these tariffs?
So let me elaborate from the beginning of the topic. First of all, regarding Greenland, our principles do stand. We do believe that Greenland is a sovereign, Greenland, hence Denmark, is a sovereign state that needs to be respected. Greenland is not for sale. Greenland is not to be taken. Obviously not for sale because there is no seller. And the Prime Minister of Denmark, and by the way, the Prime Minister of Greenland have said it very clearly that they don't want Greenland to be governed or possessed or owned by the United States. So that's one. Second, we won't be influenced by intimidation or threat. And if that is the case, then well, too bad. But yes, indeed, the European Union has defined some very powerful tools back in 2023. And President Macron indeed exposed the possibility of taking action and using that anti-coercion tool. So that will probably be discussed on Thursday if the threats do remain on the American part.
What options are available, though, for NATO? I mean, if a NATO member, the US, decides to use force against Greenland, which is aligned to NATO through Denmark, what options then are available?
Well, that would be a strange situation because Denmark being part of NATO, Denmark and Greenland have to be protected by NATO, not threatened, not invaded by another NATO member. So I must say that it's an unusual situation. That's something we didn't expect. Saying that Greenland has to be protected is a reality because the context is getting tougher and tougher. Yes, there are possibly interests from other nations, not only the US, regarding Greenland. We know since 2022 that a country can directly attack a European country. Hence, in the case of Ukraine, that's what we've seen with the war of aggression by Russia towards Ukraine, which is a European country. So we have to be very cautious about that, and you have to consider that military operation, military exercise called, again, Arctic Endurance, as a way for the NATO members to see how they can better protect Greenland from anyone. And that's a strong signal, actually, that is being sent to Denmark.
Sure, yeah, that's...
And if I can add something, by the way, if I may.
Yeah.
Denmark may not be the biggest country, may not have the biggest military in Europe, but frankly, I've been posted in Afghanistan where the coalition gathered around NATO came to support the American war effort against the Taliban. And I can tell you that Danish special forces were there, and Denmark lost a lot of soldiers. Mm-hmm. So no one can question, no one can discuss Denmark's loyalty towards NATO and its friendship towards the US.
And of course, there are some people that have questioned how the US could do this to Denmark when, as you've indicated, they've lost so many of their soldiers, the most soldiers, in fact, out of that coalition to support the US in Afghanistan. So is this how America thanks them, is the question some have asked. Let's talk about the 200% tariffs now, because the US president is now threatening 200% tariffs on French wines to get President Macron on his board of peace. I mean, if he follows through with this, Ambassador, how would it impact on France, bearing in mind that the United States is the largest market for French wine and spirits, with shipments at, the last I checked, 3.8 billion euros in 2024?
So again, let me start by saying that if American consumers were deprived of champagne, what an impact for them. Really, how can one survive without drinking champagne from time to time? That's one. Second, again, as the President Macron said, we won't be influenced by threat or intimidation. And what we have seen is that sometimes it's worthless to try and make a deal, because the European Union has made a deal with the US, the so-called Trump-von der Leyen agreement some time ago regarding tariff trade. And the threats by the Trump administration are a direct hit to that very agreement. So again, the European Union has defined some very powerful tools to fight against coercion, this anti-coercion tool, instrument, and maybe it's time to use it, or at least consider using it. And I can tell you that it's very powerful in the sense that it allows European authorities to investigate, to deprive foreign investors from participating in tenders. And so it's serious. It's serious. You know, the European Union is a 450 million consumers market. It's one of the biggest consumers market, probably after China and India. So, you know, that would be a threat for American companies too.
Yeah. What is the French president's view, though, on the board of peace? Because it looks like this board of peace is intended to address, you know, the situation in Gaza, to temporarily oversee the running of Gaza and manage its reconstruction, whatever that even means. But it can expand to other conflicts. There's a $1 billion for a permanent seat. That's what Donald Trump said. Is the French president reluctant to join this board of peace? Is he keen at all?
Well, two things first. We have to give President Trump the fact that he managed to obtain a ceasefire from the Israeli government. And that has to be duly noted. And we want a peace deal, but a real one, between Israel and the state of Palestine. That's one. Second, just like South Africa, France is very, very attached to the principles of multilateralism. And we are committed to continue to defend and protect the Charter of the United Nations. Hence, we do believe that UN institutions have to prevail. And that's the position of France right now. We don't believe that that Peace Council should compete with the UN Security Council or with any institution from the United Nations. So that's the French position.
And I mean, that is, of course, is understandable, because when you look at what may be influencing the US president, it could be that he's trying to replace the United Nations and other multilateral organizations that he wants the US to withdraw from. So one wonders what would then be the impact of this board of peace on the role of the United Nations. And maybe for the US, it's easier to explain, because if they continue to withdraw from these multilateral organizations, they can argue that we've got this board of peace that can handle conflicts and other issues. But for a country like France or any other country that joins the board of peace, then what about then their membership at the United Nations?
So the US government has made a few decisions regarding the UN system. It's their right. But I would like to remind everyone that the UN Charter is a creation of the Roosevelt and Truman administration, and it's kind of their war bounty after World War II. It's the price of success. It's their creation, and we have been enjoying so many decades of peaceful settlements. Not always easy, sometimes very difficult, but at least these institutions are universally recognized. So let's make the best use of them.
There are some suggestions made that given these decisions that the US president has taken, maybe there are some countries that must somehow boycott the G20 in the US or even the European Union. I mean, there are some famous football teams from Europe, and another suggestion is that maybe they need to boycott the World Cup to send a strong message. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure I get your question. Which teams are you talking about? Because I'm passionate about football and I haven't been aware of that.
Let's start with the G20 first. Do you think there must be a boycott?
Of the G20?
Yeah.
Of course not. That would kill any form of multilateralism. We have to make it work, just like South Africa under its presidency has showed that it can make progress and that it works, be with or without the US. And again, French government and the French diplomacy has been very supportive of the South African presidency of the G20, and it showed that it can be efficient. So no, we have to protect these kind of institutions. And by the way, you must know that President Macron met President Ramaphosa on the eve of the G20 summit in Johannesburg. And what President Macron said to President Ramaphosa is that he wants to take stock of the work done by the South African presidency of the G20. And he wants to make stock of it, and he wants to take the conclusions of the Johannesburg summit and to continue that good work under the French presidency of the G7. And in a way, and that has to be defined and discussed with other members of the G7, to associate South Africa and other countries to this French presidency.
David Martinon, French ambassador to South Africa, Lesotho and Malawi, thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you very much for your invitation. See you soon.
See you soon. And thanks to you for watching the Tuesday edition of Face the Nation. We'll be back with you on Thursday at 8 p.m. Have a good evening. Cheers.